It's been 2 months since your hometown, Eidos, was ripped from its own reality and placed in a new world. The Eidosians are calling it Horizon. Untamed and uncharted, it presents both risk and opportunity for all. Rangers, mages, and warriors all eagerly answer the call. Not all who have gone in search of fame and fortune have returned. There are many dangers lurking in the dark. Horrors from other dimensions, summoned to Horizon as you were. Still, there is hope. There are friendly faces in Eidos, always willing to aid you in your journeys. And in the back of your mind burns the unanswerable question: who brought Eidos to this strange place called Horizon, and why?
Welcome to our town hall. I forget what number we're on here, but we've got some exciting stuff coming up. Glad you all could join us today. We are we'll get into those details of the dates here, but as we've talked about and as we've announced, we've got a couple more weeks here until you can mint and play the game. So really excited. We've been hard at work. A lot of really cool stuff to show you. So before we jump into that, I want to just let folks know here, we still have a lot of whitelist. We still have additional whitelist spots to be giving away here. So we'll have another whitelist giveaway. So keep an eye out for that hashtag that we'll ask you to enter into the chat to be available to win one of those 2 whitelist spots in the town hall here today. If you could go ahead and we'll pop this up here. You can like, retweet, and follow us on Twitter or subscribe on YouTube. Again, a reminder, join the Discord if you want to keep up to everything that's up to date. Keep up to date on everything Dragons Crossing related. We've got 2 active campaigns going on right now. We've got our Invite and Win contest, which is still going. And keep in mind, this is an opportunity to not just win a whitelist spot, but one of 7 Genesis heroes. So actually getting the hero itself. We'll take a snapshot very close to the mint, and we're getting really close here. So invite people to that Discord. If they stay as of the date of that snapshot, you'll have an opportunity to win one of those Genesis heroes. Second one we have is our bi-weekly trivia and win campaign to win some whitelist spots here. So that will be coming up. Let me check. I think the next one is coming up on Monday, May 22nd. So keep your eyes out for that. Again, join the Discord and look forward to seeing you there. Finally, I'll go ahead and introduce our guests today. We've got Sandwich Punch and we've got Bloater Punch who'll be joining me, 2 of our founders who you've known and seen before. So welcome, Bloater Punch and Sandwich Punch.
Yo.
Hey guys, it's good to be here.
Loving the, as you can see, we're all repping the DCX Dragons Crossing logo here. We've even got the hat here on Bloater Punch. He's wearing it the cool way though. All right, guys. You guys ready to talk about some important stuff? I mean,
us too.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. All right. So let's just jump right into it, guys. We've got a couple of dates announced here. Why don't you run through that for some of the folks who are in the chat here who may need a refresher on what our timing looks like?
Okay, so timing right now is today's May 12th, and we will have the mint on May 27th. So
cool,
that
baby.
What is that? 15 days. So almost a little over 2 weeks. And then gameplay would proceed on the 31st. So we committed May. We're hitting May, right? We're doing what we said. So we're excited about it. And that's the gig. So we're going hard.
Awesome. How's it feel to finally, after, a year, not quite a year and a half, 15 months or so of development, finally being here at the finish line?
Well, we're not at the finish line yet, so I still stressed, but ask me that in 2 weeks and I'm sure I will feel lots of relief.
Got it. How about you, Sandwich Punch? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. It's been a long trek, and it's been a lot of
In
nerve.
the Oregon Trail. We've been on the Oregon
Yeah,
Trail.
we've been
We've
on the
gotten
Oregon
dysentery.
trails. We've had some fall to dysentery. Ran out of water a couple times, but I think
Killed
we're-
like 8,000 pounds of buffalo. Could only take 400 pounds.
exactly.
Oh, awesome. Well, hey, along with those mint dates. So again, May 27th, super exciting. May 31st. If I'm not mistaken, we've got a new trailer. Awesome. That looks great. Sorry, I forgot Brown Gent's trigger word was trailer, and he was ready when I said that word. But that's exciting. That's exciting. We're getting right here. We've got some additional content. What else, Bloater Punch? What else can people expect in the next couple of weeks as we get close to launch in terms of content and things, so that they can get hyped for the mint and the game launch?
So you mean outside the mint and outside the game launch? What else is happening?
Yeah, like what are people going to see in terms of marketing or kind of trailers or things like that in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, so I got to answer Mladenon's question first. So we have 6 heroes, 3 classes, 2 genders each, but then there's dynamic backgrounds. So when you mint a hero, you will get one of 6 options, but you'll also get a randomly generated background. And it represents one of the 5 playable zones. So there's fields, I'm not using their in-game name, but there's fields, forests, swamps, mountains, and then the Dark Tower. So you will get one of those backgrounds on it as well. So good call out. In terms of what to expect, I mean, we're working in the background trying to push partnerships, trying to push visibility to the project. I really believe like we have a special project here. Like we're launching with an actual game. It's fun. We got a great team, but I want to increase the visibility. I feel like there's still more work to do on the visibility side. So, we're going to use all the time we can to try and create additional synergies, collaborations. Like we just did a collaboration with Knights of Ether, got some of their community in here. I'm talking with another project right now. Like that's a daily activity. We're reaching out to some DAOs. If anyone has any relationship with any DAOs that they think would be interesting, we'd love to take the meeting and figure something out. So that's where our focus is, but also focused on making sure the game's finished and also focused on making sure it's playable and ready to go.
Awesome. That's exciting. Okay, so before actually, and I got a question for Sandwich Punch here in a second, but I want to ask you about the whitelist. Because we had a slight change in terms of the whitelist, what that looks like. So could you give us a reminder? And I think Brown Gent's got some stuff to pop up here. Could you just give us a run through here in terms of what it looks like now?
Okay, so the original whitelist was we're going to do 600 whitelists and half of them will have access to the mint. And I changed it to we're going to do whatever number we end up with. We're just going to do 60% of players will have a discount. So additional whitelist spots are available, but instead of it being half off, it would be 60% off. And so there's a small whitelist change there.
You mean 60% will get that discount that you previously announced?
I'm sorry. That's what I meant.
Okay,
I'm in like 4 places right now. Yes.
Yeah. There you go.
I put out the announcement in the announcements. You guys can check out the whitelist change, but the change is before what we launched with was half the players. So if we had 600 people whitelisted, half of them would get the opportunity. And so I changed it to being a floor of 300. but 60% of players within the whitelist would be benefited. So it's a benefit to the players. More players will get whitelists as a percent of the pool of people with whitelist spots. So I think it's a good change. You can see the nuanced change details in my announcement in the announcements channel. But yes, there is a whitelist change, and we have not explained it well, but go check out that announcement.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. So still opportunities, including in this chat here. I believe as well, we've got Arb Dow, who's also, or Arb News Dow, right? Who's also running, and a variety of other folks who are running whitelist giveaways right now. So a lot of opportunities if you want to snag one. When merch? Need that shirt. Good question. Well, you know what? Instead of launching with merch, we're launching with a game, and we'll get you
Merch
up,
will
hit you
follow
with.
after.
Yeah, exactly. That'll
Is
come
the
out.
merch.
There you go.
Oh,
There
we
you
can
go.
switch it if you guys want. We can flip it.
Yeah, just
Get
new
a
Maybe
merch
game.
out
ship
first,
everybody-
and then the game will ship 6 months later.
All right. Speaking of Sandwich Punch, what can you tell us? You know, we've got another town hall coming up next week. You know, I think people are really eager to see the game.
Yeah.
What can you tell me?
So next week, we are going to show a lot of bit more gameplay, and we're super excited about it. The other night, Bloater and Baby Punch, honestly, I think it was the four of us all got on a call, and we were just getting some additional access to the test environment, and then I ended up like going down a wormhole and playing for 3 hours. I actually had a lot of fun. So we're super excited. We're going to show you some of that next on Town Hall. Stream it live, show you what these chonkers are all about. Maybe give you a little taste of how bad it feels to wipe and what that looks like, and just some of the other features. You know, walking through the stuff we've talked about, and we've heard you. You know, we've heard everybody say, yeah, we've only seen the one combat. So just give me a little more taste of it before we get into the mint, and then keep your eyes peeled. We have a really exciting just a gameplay, and then also just an overall game trailer that we're working on with Sejin, and it's going to be amazing. So super excited for that too. Stay tuned for that.
Awesome. That's going to be great. Yeah, and yeah, I was commenting to folks separately about this. I was like, you know what? Like, it's a lot of fun. It really is, and I think people are going to be really excited. You know, when the way it hits when you get a skill book drop or a shard drop, it's real nice.
To
So,
the loot, you're just like, when you hit those the right items, it's just like such a dopamine hit.
yeah, it'll be awesome. So excited to share that with you guys next week. We'll give you a deep dive there, which will be, I think, get people excited because again, truly, it's a full game. It's really there, and excited to share that. Okay. We've, for today, by the way, might be a little bit of a shorter town hall. Generally, because again, we've, Bloater Punches in dozens of different meetings and trying to coordinate everything and make sure we're ready for launch here. Before we jump into our Q&A, though, want to pop up the giveaway here. Anyone who comments hashtag Genesis Hero on YouTube today will be eligible to win one of 2 whitelist spots for a Genesis Hero. So we'll draw it at the end of the stream. So go ahead and get those in the chat here, and we'll draw those at the end. So anything else you guys want to address before we jump into some of this Q&A? Anything I'm forgetting here?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's jump into it.
All right. So, all right. Let's start off with, apologies, it's not pulling up for me. Okay. Have a few questions here. Let's start off with something from kind of more an operational perspective. I think as with any project, we've tried to be very transparent, but I think there are some questions that people had about, operation costs, team salaries, utilizing DCX, et cetera. So let me ask you this, Sandwich Punch, for operations costs and team salaries, and we've disclosed those in the white paper here. What is the plan for Dragon's Crossing in terms of selling DCX without or utilizing it in a way that it's not going to cause tremendous sell pressure with respect to DCX?
Yeah.
Or put in other words, how do we know you're not going to just rug us and sell all the tokens in the operational wallet and things like that?
Yeah. So first thing on that is if you go to the website and you look at the white paper, you'll see that the operation wallet is now locked. It was fully unlocked. It's now locked under the same 12-month vesting schedule, and so that can't all just be dumped immediately. And even if we could, we wouldn't, for so many reasons. Like it would just crater the economy. But what we have is we're going to have a pre-launch policy that's forthcoming. And what that does is it will govern the protocol-owned DCX sales, and essentially we'll have parameters and thresholds on what can be sold, what kind of price impact can be had over a certain specified period of time.
Okay, so basically we're going to have some strict policies around this
Exactly.
that are established and made known. Okay. Let me ask another question. As we're kind of talking about, tokens and transaction costs and things like that, there's a question with respect to, and we've seen this pop up from a few times where people are like, hey, look, this is on ARB, but it's an ETH. What a gas fee is going to look like, ballpark? Obviously, we can't guarantee anything, but what have you seen, Sandwich Punch?
In terms,
in terms of the gas cost for transactions.
I don't know. I haven't minted specifically on Arbitrum, but I have done swaps. I have purchased NFTs off of marketplaces, and I have done some in-game transactions for other games. And I think it varies a lot, obviously, just like Ethereum can, but I would be shocked if we saw over $1.
Okay.
The swaps that I did recently were like 25 cents each. I did some other purchases from an NFT marketplace that were 10 cents. Sometimes it's 50 cents. It's going to fluctuate. If it's really bad, you're probably going to see it hit $1, but I don't think we'll get above that. Could we get above that? Maybe, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah. And that's something we looked at when we were selecting the chain here. Keep in mind that generally speaking, you're not going to have a ton of on-chain transactions, which was, again, by design.
Right. That's another really big thing to emphasize, because people hear $1 and like, oh my gosh, like if some of the other Web3 games you're playing, you're approving 100 transactions a day. It's like, yeah, I can't spend $100 in gas. That's not what's going to happen. You could have a day where you don't even have a transaction. If you don't want to.
If you have a transaction, that's really good, because that implies you got an NFT from questing, right? So the only reason you would have a transaction is if something really good happened to you. So in the general process of questing, you don't have to worry about transactions. And at the end of a play session, if you didn't have an NFT to secure, you will have no transactions. So gas fees obviously not good, but if you're paying gas, it's for something meaningful. Got it.
Awesome. Thanks for clarifying that. Okay. So speaking of, we were talking about a play session. There was a question regarding kind of the win conditions. And here's the question. It's from Professor. Given the first season win condition, the fewest actions to defeat the final boss, how will the standings or a hero's current rank be trackable? Maybe
okay, yeah. Sam, will you let me share my screen here and I'll show this? Okay, so here we're in the Dragon's Crossing UI. We talked about an extended playthrough on the next town hall, but I thought it would be easier to just show you. So there's a UI at the bottom here. You can see your character, you can see your inventory, items. You can see you have access to the Adventuring Guild. We'll talk about that. Here you can go back and see your various heroes. You have a settings menu, but here we added one called leaderboard. So if you open this up, and I don't know if you can see that very well, but essentially I can see it on my screen pretty well. And what it is it just shows you here at the bottom where you are ranked. This is just a mock-up, so this isn't live data. But let's say you were rank 117. It would show you your rank, and then it would show the top 10 here. And so what this is doing is showing you, like, what's the hero ID, what's the level, have they beaten the final boss, what's the furthest zone they've gotten in, and how many quests have they used. So the question was, can I benchmark myself against other people throughout the course of the season? And the answer is yes. So this leaderboard will help you track your progress. And then obviously once you hit the objective, you would stop spending quests towards that. So This leaderboard would help track and give you a feel for how you are performing against your peers. Here, this number shows you how many people are in the season. So it would give you a really good idea of who's the top 10, how am I doing relative to them, and how am I doing relative to the entire cohort or season.
Awesome. That looks nice. I think that'll make it a lot easier for people to track. There was a kind of follow-up question from Professor as well about just intermediate or mini bosses. Are there going to be intermediate or mini bosses in the game?
So there are intermediate bosses. Every zone, starting with the second zone, has a daily quest, and every zone starting with this third zone has a main boss, and you can't get through the zone without beating that boss. And then the last zone has a zone boss, but also has like the game boss, whose name I will not yet disclose. So it's part of the lore. So the answer is yes, you would have those like checkpoints, but the leaderboard isn't as concerned with that, like the boss per se. It just shows you kind of like a pseudo checkpoint, which is what zone have you gotten to, which is kind of the equivalent of what bosses have you beaten. So you see what zone you're in, you see what zone they're in, how many quests have they spent, what level are they, and it gives you a really good idea of how you're performing.
Awesome. Cool. Speaking of leaderboards, I think there was another question from Professor Sandwich. Maybe you can answer this one about, and I'll just read this here. Will DCX be earnable via various quests or actions, or only through purchase on a Dex and via end of season rewards?
Yeah, so as we've announced, there's the seasonal model, which is full game at launch in the season format, and then there will be an expansion for what we're referring to as non-season perpetual play. In the seasonal model, DCX was only earnable through the DCX earned from your rewards from finishing the season and where you rank on the ladder. So earnable DCX within a season would be, I guess, I don't know, we can get into that more if you want, but in terms of non-seasonal, yes, DCX will be earnable, but we're going to refrain from giving too many details about that now. We're going to release that prior to the expansion coming out. But yeah, I'm super excited about that, and
Awesome.
I think everybody will as well.
Okay. Well, yeah, thanks for adding some clarity on that. So again, just to summarize, you're going to be able to get it via, you could obviously exchange for it on any Dex where it's available, but you also will receive it via end of season rewards. Maybe we can pop up this question from Zelfer Nide, and he had asked a few of these as well. And this is one we were going to hit as well, but maybe Bloater, you could talk to this a little bit. Is there a worry about the game being repetitive and boring in the future?
Yes. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
So, can we edit that out post? Is that how this works?
I mean,
no, not at all.
That's a concern with every game, right?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
the point of having good end game content. But yeah, go ahead.
So let me position this a couple ways. So one is, I'm a Counter-Strike player. I'm not a very good Counter-Strike player, but I play Counter-Strike. And I've been playing, there's one map that any Counter-Strike player would know. It's called Dust 2.
Yeah.
They retired Dust, but Dust 2 is a competitive map right now. I've played that game. I've played that map since 2002, probably earlier. 2002, 2003. I don't know when Dust 2 came out, but I was playing it, and it's still competitive. It's in the competitive rotation. And the reason it's not stale isn't because they've made big changes to the map. The map's essentially the exact same it's always been. The reason it's still fun is because Counter-Strike is fun because it's super competitive. It's a very competitive game, right? I still log in. I play the same map I played for 20 years, and I still have fun because I'm competing against other people. So is the whole spice behind our game, the whole sauce, the reason why we think people will enjoy it is because there's potential rewards on the line and you're competing against other people. And there's a psychology that goes to that. So to Sandwich Punch's point, all games have that risk. We think the way our game shines is through that competitive angle. Now, of course, we have other plans for non-competitive angles, but for the launch, it's a competitive angle. And so that's one facet of it. Another facet of it is because we built the architecture, additional content, I believe, will be significantly easier to produce. So that doesn't mean you'll see additional content every week or every month, but I anticipate a very aggressive content release strategy, assuming we've got the right pieces in place, assuming we have a successful mint, because we've done a lot of the heavy lifting. So like adding a new zone with new monsters wouldn't be that hard, right? A lot of it's on the art side, a lot of it's on the voice acting side. It's really not on the development side anymore in terms of that. So, excuse me. So that's how I would answer that question, kind of two ways.
Yeah. A great question though. Appreciate it. Awesome. Speaking of, as we're talking about, we talked about some of the differences between, or, talked about seasonal play and non-seasonal play. Bloater Punch, here's a question from I Know Kung Fu, and thanks for submitting a bunch of those. I Know Kung Fu, appreciate those. Do the learned skills for heroes persist through seasons, or are they removed like equipment and hero levels at the end of the season?
Okay, so sorry, I was pinging I Know Kung Fu in chat. The question is, what happens with learned skills? Is that correct?
Yeah, during the seasonal model in particular.
So learned skills. So you start out with 2 skills. Every class has 2 base skills. As you quest, you may find skill books, which are NFTs, or they become NFTs. And you can identify those skill books and learn them, and the NFTs are burned forever, and you now know that skill. And so the current philosophy, the game design right now is once you learn a skill, it will stay with that hero forever, regardless of at the end of the season when everything else wipes. So at the end of the season, items wipe, level wipes, like everything wipes except your learned skills. You know those forever. And the reason we made that decision is it just felt really, really bad to pay for, like, let's say you went on the open market and paid someone for a skill book, and then it would be gone at the end of the season. That doesn't feel very good. And so all learned skills will be retained by all heroes once they're learned, but everything else gets wiped.
Got it. Okay. So you'll retain it between seasons and level caps, right? For use of those skills.
Skills will have level requirements.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Even though the big pimp death ball skill, which is not a real skill, but this one, you can't use it until you hit the required level. So you won't be using that in the zone 1.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. I know Kung Fu had a couple other questions on it, so maybe I stick on the topic of skills for a second. He said, are 2 skills of the same skill book where items you could find 2 short swords and they might be different stats? Is the same true of skills where overhand chop in one case might do 40% damage versus 50% more damage or something like that?
So that is not the case. Skill books are skill books. So one proposed thing that came from the community, which I really liked, is, hey, if I find the same skill book and I already know the skill, can I consume it again to make my current skill stronger? That's not in, but that's a really good idea. And I believe that exists in Diablo as well. So that's something I definitely want to look into. But right now, no, skills are not unique. Like overhand chop is always overhand chop, regardless of how many times you find it. You can't strengthen them now with multiple instances, but we will likely introduce some kind of burn mechanic so that you can consume multiple skill books to get your existing skills stronger.
Got it. Okay. So all right, that makes sense. Well, talk about that last part a little bit more. You said you can consume multiple skill books to make your skill stronger.
You can't today, but I'm saying that's.
I thought you said can.
Add to the roadmap.
I was like, okay, I didn't realize. Okay, awesome. The last question from I Know Kung Fu on that was, I got the impression that heroes could have X amount of learned skills and X amount of skill points. At the beginning of the day, we can put skill points to the skills we want to play with. Is that correct?
So every time you go to the Adventuring Guild, you can choose to allocate skills into the skills you want to use, assuming you know those skills. You can only learn, I believe, 7 skills total. And so let's say you logged in one day, you're like, listen, I'm just going to use this one skill. I think it's the best. So you would only allocate points into that skill. Now you have to be at the Adventuring Guild to do that. So that's one. If you're not at an Adventuring Guild, whatever you've selected the last time you were there, those are the skills that get refreshed at the beginning of every play session.
Got it. So whatever you had there, you won't end up accidentally not having any skills, if you walk out.
That's right.
Okay, cool. And you made the comment about making skills more powerful. And then there was a question of, can you elaborate a bit more about whether there's an associated DCX cost with identifying or learning or changing skills or things like that?
So the only time there's a DCX cost is when you identify a skill. It still remains an NFT. It's just an identified NFT. And so when you find a skill book, you don't know what skill it is. So you could potentially send it to a friend, you could sell it on the open market, or you could identify it, at which point you could send it to a friend, sell it on the open market, or learn it yourself if it's appropriate for your class.
Got it. Okay. Maybe we can switch to another question here, because we've talked about, you know, a lot of those questions about skills here. Maybe talking for a second on it's still gameplay related. There's a question of how random are the encounters while questing. This is from Alba Luna.
So what happens is, so I'm in my office and I'm monitoring all the instances. And so when you fight a monster, I get to pick the monster. And so it's a very manual process. It's like I look at your history and then I decide what the best monster is for you. No, obviously that's a joke. The way it's determined is totally random. So every time you go to a zone tile, or every time you go to quest, depending on what tile you click on, there's a pool of random opportunities or chances.
Okay. And what are those?
It is a weighted randomness, meaning there might be one monster there that only appears 1% of the time and another monster that appears 20% of the time.
And I think you've talked about this too, like in terms of what types of encounter. Can you talk a little bit more about what types of encounters?
Yeah, so there's a couple possibilities when you click to go adventure and spend a quest.
Okay.
So one is you could fight a monster. That's one. One is you could have a side quest. We call those chance encounters. One is you could find or discover a new tile, and you could also interact with the narrator, who's also your mentor. His name's Acheron, and he's feeding you the lore of like, what are you doing in this place and why are you here? And you're asking him questions. Those are the possibilities when you go questing on a typical tile. Then outside of those, you have boss tiles, which are just for bosses, and you have daily tiles, which are just for the daily quest.
Awesome. Okay. I think that helps Phil understand it's more than just kind of, you know, click, and I'm done. You know, there's a lot more to it, a lot of depth. And thanks for that shout out, Andrew Turpin. Yeah, we're excited. I think we put in a lot of great work here, and the game's looking like it's going to be a lot of fun. Speaking of which, you know, we talked about when the mint price is happening. You know, but in terms of like the mint itself, where will people be able to mint Loader Punch?
So
you know,
they'll just go to the website, which is dragonscrossing.com, and right now where the mint says like sign up, which I don't even know what that does. You would just go there and click mint, and you would be able to mint right there.
Yeah, awesome. And I think, well, I don't know if Brown Gent has it available or could pull it up for us to take a look at, but it's just the mint page on the website, and exactly there'll be buttons there that will be. It looks like we've got it here. Yeah, so here's the website. You click on the mint page. Those mint now buttons do not work. Well,
they're disabled. They're disabled.
Yeah, exactly. To be clear, they work. And actually, if you click them, it'll add you to just, you know, say, hey, like notify me, put in your name, email address, and we'll send you an email before the mint as a reminder. So yeah, pretty straightforward and simple in terms of how to mint. Okay. Related question about NFTs. So those are the couple of ways you can mint Genesis. That's how you mint our Genesis heroes. There's a question from Chu Wookie. I know there are going to be 4 NFTs at the start of the game, which are, you know, Genesis heroes, Rift heroes, skill books, and summoning shards to summon Rift heroes. The question was, is there going to be the possibility of expansion into land, buildings, shops, other NFT ownership, things like that? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that honestly gets me super excited. The thought of that. So our first priority is we have to mint well. We have to launch a stable product that's fun and competitive. And then the sky's the limit. And one of my low-hanging objectives is additional NFTs that provide decentralized ownership opportunity for excited players. So, yes.
Okay, awesome. So nothing's quite off the table. You know, speaking of minting and NFTs, there's a question from Arnout86. How long is the general mint phase going to be open? What happens to, you know, well, maybe we just start there. What's it going to look like in terms of here's the whitelist mint, you know, here's the general mint. How long do you anticipate those being open?
So there's 3 phases. There's a whitelist phase. There's a phase for people who whitelisted but weren't able to get a discounted mint, and then there's the general public mint.
Okay.
And we will release additional instructions as we get closer, so everyone will have the right information. But it's not finalized, but what I believe we'll do is it'll be like, hey, here's an hour tops for the whitelist. Here's an hour tops maybe for the follow-up, maybe even less. And then we'll just open it up to the public.
Got it. Fantastic. And another question on NFTs from Crypto Bag Trav. Will I be able to move heroes to a hardware wallet?
I mean, does that mean off-chain? Sandwich, you're like more.
Yeah. So it kind of depends on how you use the hardware wallet, but it could be on a hardware wallet, and that hardware wallet is linked to your MetaMask, in which case it should still be able to read it. It's just whenever you have.
But does it move it to the wallet and it's off-chain? Like it's not on-chain anymore?
I wouldn't say it's off-chain. I mean, if it's on a hardware wallet, it's still on-chain. It's just like it's not a hot wallet, right? It's like not constantly connected, and like it can't interact without approvals without being physically connected.
I've never used a hardware wallet. So.
It shouldn't be any different than if you've used a hardware wallet in DeFi Kingdoms, for example. It's just, and it won't be. I'll be careful with my words here. It won't be as painful because you're at least when I was doing it in DeFi Kingdoms, it's like constantly, approving 1 million transactions, that's a feature of DeFi Kingdoms. But using a hardware wallet with that made it kind of hard. But because there's less approvals, a hardware wallet shouldn't be an issue.
Yep.
Time-wise, Wine, what time is it in UK? Like if we did I don't know, I'm just throwing paint on the water. If we did like a midnight MST mint, what time would it be in UK?
I think they're 8 hours ahead.
UK 7, and then a big portion of Europe, is an hour ahead of that.
So we need to either do really late or really early, right? Or not that early, but we need to do like if we did like 10 a.m. MST, that would pretty much be good for everyone. Europe, Asia would kind of be hosed, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, to answer your question, Andrew, we've definitely thought about, and we, what is the right timing? Unfortunately, given the nature of Web3, we don't know where everyone lives. So we kind of have to make estimates.
Drop your address in the chats.
Yeah, exactly. But no, certainly something we're thinking about to make sure that we get the most folks available. And Doug noted here. Thanks for noting that. We'll have a video uploading here to how to get liquidity on Arbitrum in the best, basically the best ways from, a lot of common on ramps. There's I know Kung Fu. Yeah, stoked for the minute launch. Hey, thanks so much again for your input with respect to a lot of these questions. I think they're really helpful and questions that a lot of other folks have. So, cool. All right, we've got a couple more questions that we'll hit since we've got a little bit more time here. About the dev team, I think there were some questions about the dev team, Bloater Punch, and we have this up on our website, but maybe you just talk to it. How many developers are there working on Dragon's Crossing, or maybe a better question, how many have worked on Dragon's Crossing?
Let's see. I don't know. I think it's 6 total devs have worked. 3 are currently working. We've had these 3 stable for quite a while. Although, let me just take a moment to reflect on crypto history. Does anyone else remember where you would like go into a new project because they were like minting, and you'd be like, "Whoa, why is 99% of the funds unlocked?" And they would be like, "The devs, like, don't speak evil of the devs." And like, I don't know, the devs was always like a big thing. I never understood that. It was like sacred worship of the devs.
Yeah.
So hopefully we don't have sacred worship of the devs. They're just normal people here. So we have 3 devs. You've met the devs. We've had a AMA with the devs, and their faces are posted on our website.
Awesome. What about this? Do they all have the same skill level?
I mean,
there's a follow-up question on that.
I think the consensus would definitely be that D is the most experienced. Deltoid Punch one time said he was like, "I'm pretty sure D's a genius," and it's not because he's the best coder there ever was. The scope of his technology knowledge is like baffling. Like
Yeah.
anytime we run into everything, he's like, "Oh yeah, well we'll just use this like this application or this service," and it's like, how do you know how that works already? Like, how have you already used that? His breadth, he has such breadth on just dev topics. So Deltoid's a really competent front end designer. One Punch is a very competent back end developer, but D is just like his breadth is just stupid. But Deltoid Punch and One Punch are both super young guys. So D's older. I think D's probably in his like 40s or maybe 50s, probably 40s. So some of it's just time.
Hashtag D's breadth. Breadth. Say that a lot.
D's
Uh,
breath.
Yeah.
He has great breath.
Is D? Yeah. The question here from Zelfernide: is he the Walter White of coding?
Yeah, I mean, like that's not a bad comparison. He also was wearing like a Walter White hat on his like death picture, so he's very much. Although the funny thing about D is he's like the nicest person you've ever interacted with, so he's kind of like Walter pre-meth, I would say. Like, super,
But he's really good at what he does.
he's
so-
really good, but so was Walter. Walter was really good at chemistry.
Yeah.
So I would say he's like before the bad breaking, right? Before he
Yeah.
actually like goes and starts selling meth to Tuco.
Yep.
That he's like a really he's very similar to that. Yeah.
Awesome. And there's a follow-up question, one last question on that, and I think this is a fair one. This is from Chiwookie. Whether it's Deltoid Punch or One Punch or D, let's say all three of them get hit by a bus, the same bus perhaps. I don't know. What
There's a dev outing. They're on the same bus.
Yeah.
They get off the bus. That bus hits all three simultaneously.
Yeah, and Doug's on it, and there's a chonker or something, and Doug dies.
Death by Chonker.
Assume this happens, right? What confidence do you have, or do you have thoughts in terms of? I mean, obviously it would be impactful, but kind of if you look back in the history of and hiring and identifying the right devs, do you feel like everything would be lost? And we've seen that at some projects, right, where they're like, hey, look, everything's lost. We have no dev. Or do you feel like confident that, hey, we would be able to find the right resources to replace, and move forward regardless of that tragedy?
I mean, that would be super hard, not gonna lie. I will say, not to throw shade, I won't say the project name, but there was a project I was familiar with, and they had a recent post where they were like, our only dev just abruptly left. And I was like, why do you guys only have one dev? And like, why would one person have that much control and power over your project? So that to me seems super weird. We have 3 developers. We are a really close knit group. Again, we've worked together for 16 months now, which is longer than most projects have been around. Like we have a pretty good rapport and track record built together. So I'd say if you were betting on a dev team, ours is a pretty good one to bet on.
Love it. Awesome. Question here from Zelfernide. We had popped up here. We didn't get a chance to hit it. Who's going to be the player for the live gameplay?
We should do a vote. Whoever they want. I think we had said Baby Punch or Sandwich Punch, but we should do like a community vote and let the community in true decentral theme.
Yeah, I'm down with that. You guys want to see my thirst trap play? Then I mean, obviously you got to vote for me, but
he's got a pretty sick mythic ranger.
Hey, Sam, can we do a Twitter vote? Can we just host a voting on Twitter? Hopefully you get more than like 10 people voting, but like, who do you want to stream? And we'll abide. I will bind myself to the result.
I love it. Great idea. Okay.
Oh wait,
awesome.
no, Doug is not actually. No, Doug won't be doing that. So Doug won't. Well, you can't write in Doug's name. Although I would love to see Doug play. This would be a core team member. So myself, Sandwich Punch, Baby Punch, or Granite is really the 4 I was thinking of. But Doug will be with us in spirit. And by the way, Doug should stream with us. Doug should be on the town hall with us doing this chonker hype game while we're streaming.
Oh yeah. Same with Crypto Grady.
Same with
awesome. Okay. Oh, binding. Yes, that's
binding.
right.
Binding.
Well, I don't know, Doug. I don't know here. We'll talk.
Doug has been bound. He is soul bound.
There was another question I wanted to hit in terms of Or maybe we had all the questions here today from the community. If anyone has any other questions in the chat, feel free to pop them in there. But otherwise, I think we've gone through the questions that we had teed up for today with the community team members. Hold on one second. I closed my window that had our agenda on here like a total scrub here.
Dude, can I tell them? Bloater? Can I tell them one of the monster fixes I had to play against? Or are these
Let's
like?
hear it.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so this is every zone has like a chonker, right? And I'm fighting the chonker of this zone. He casts a spell, and I'm complaining right internally about this. Increased dodge chance 75% for the next 10 rounds.
Is that a real ability?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have to run. Like, there's no way I can beat that.
Oh man.
So, by the way, just to clarify the chonker meta. So, there are every zone has like a chonker, but then there's also the boss, which is very chonker-esque, but isn't the chonker in the traditional sense. So, were you fighting a boss or were you just fighting?
No, this is
traditional
non-boss encounter.
Okay. Yes.
Well, I would say hashtag get good and don't
Seriously.
die. Awesome. Okay. Brown Jen, do we need to refresh if anyone else has typed in Genesis Hero? Or are we good for the drawing here? I think we're getting towards the end here, so we'll go ahead and do this drawing if we're all set. So if you haven't typed it in, give you a few seconds here to type in hashtag Genesis Hero. If not, we'll go ahead and click the button and draw 2 whitelist spots and see who wins. Too many people have won a whitelist code already. What does that mean? I don't know. Here we go. All right, Kai Neuenzig. Congrats on winning that whitelist spot. And as a reminder, go ahead and chat I believe you have to chat your Discord name and ID. Yeah, your Discord ID in the chat so we can contact you, or maybe not. Maybe that's for a different giveaway here. Please post your Discord ID. Okay, cool. We'll do the second drawing here for see who wins.
Beep, boop, 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 beep, boop, boop.
All right, Zivko Kondo.
We got some like Russians in the chat.
Hey, dude, we are agnostic to where you come from, friend. Go ahead and type your Discord ID in the chat, and we'll be in contact to go into the Discord as well. That's where you'll go ahead to register, and you can follow the FAQ there in terms of how to register the whitelist code you'll receive. Bloater Punch, do we have additional trivia and additional opportunity for a giveaway here?
We could do a Disney Triv, animated Triv.
If it's up to you.
Okay, I've got one. I've been thinking about this because I hate doing ones that are Googleable. Okay.
Okay.
So whitelist goes to the person who can get this, and I'll have to do an easier one if no one can get this. Okay, you ready? You have to pay close attention. Okay.
All right.
I have a backup question if no one can get this. Okay.
And they've got to type their Discord name and ID, right? As part of it.
To get this whitelist, you have to type your Discord ID with the answer. So if I said, who said, I can't believe it, I'm losing to a rug, you would say Aladdin and then your Discord ID. Okay.
Brown Gent with Aladdin. Correct.
There's always a joke in chat, a joker or two. All right. So whitelist to the person who can get this quote. Or it's not a quote. It's not actually a quote. It's like a body language movement. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, because that's not Googleable. You can't Google like body language.
Okay.
So the character in question kind of has their finger like this, and he's like telling the other person to turn around with his hand like this. Okay. He's got like one finger, and he's like,
Oh, God.
Oh my gosh. I have no idea.
you do. You've all seen this film.
Like this. I got it right?
Yeah, kind of like this, like the hand, but it led with the index finger.
Okay.
He's indicating for the character to turn around.
I'm gonna take the lack of answers in the chat as okay. Aladdin. Yep.
Not
Close.
Aladdin, not Gaston. Although my favorite, I was actually thinking about this. I love when they go to Belle's house and what's the little dude's name?
I can't
Lavu.
remember. I know
Lavu
you're talking
goes
about-
in and they're like, Maurice! And he's like, well, he's not here. And then Gaston grabs him and he's like, don't move from that spot. And then he has to stay there and gets hypothermia.
Stuck the
No,
punchline
I
there.
haven't seen the answer. But that means it's a good one, right? You couldn't.
Okay.
Flynn Rider. No, but I'm glad you attended that last one where we talked about Flynn, my boy. Let's give it 5 more seconds. It's not Genie. A lot of Aladdin answers here. Merlin, although no, I do. We gotta go. We should bust some Sword in the Stone. Great film. Great. What? Great film.
All right, before
right.
Bloater goes on
Okay.
his
It's
improv
Lion
session
King.
here.
When Scar tells Zazu, he's like,
Oh,
no, help me.
okay.
And Scar goes, turn around.
Yeah. Okay.
You need the
got
like
it.
curly, the curly finger
Yeah,
would
the
have maybe helped a
finger.
little
The
bit.
curly one. All
Yep.
right. Who said this? You could Google it, whatever. That kicks like a donkey's balls wrapped in duct tape.
Donkey's balls wrapped
That
in
kicks
duct-
like a donkey's balls wrapped in duct tape.
I'm guessing it's not a Disney movie based on that. I have no idea.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. The words are a little off, but that's
there's
Googleable.
donkey's balls. Are there donkey's balls wrapped in duct tape in the?
Mules, it's mules balls.
All right, we'll see if someone can Google it. Aladdin.
It is Aladdin. The code goes to IS code.
Is it
Genie
really
says it,
Aladdin?
Jasmine, no.
Okay.
iOS
like, I'm
code.
shocked.
He's been running that joke. He knows that joke. He's like
And it's
one of the
still not tired.
OGs.
It's not Shrek. It's not an animated film.
Guys, it's like I looked.
Wait, it's not
typed this in
animated film?
2 minutes or 2 seconds on Google.
Okay, I was thinking it was an animated film.
No,
That
it's
was
not an animated film because you guys are lame and you didn't get the Lion King reference.
okay. Now I know. Okay. Hey, who's gonna get it?
Or we don't have to do a giveaway. Listen, you guys don't want a giveaway. You don't have to have a giveaway.
It was. Give him a hint, right? It was referenced in today's call.
It was referenced in
It's already
today's call. It's
referenced.
not Jesse. It's Tuco Salamanca when he's like tight. That kicks like a donkey's balls wrapped in duct tape.
See, my head was completely in Disneyland, and I'm like, I just can't imagine that's the quote. But who do we got as the winner here? Is it Thomas Teal?
Does that count? I mean, he said Jesse.
Oh, he said Jesse.
I guess it's the closest. We should give it to him.
I-
Also,
I-
my favorite Tuco moment is when he beats his brother-in-law to death with his bare fist, and then he holds it up and he said, "Yeah, see, look at that!" And he's like, his hands are like bloody, and they're both like, "Oh my gosh, like we can't."
This is what it's like working for Bloater Punch, guys. If you don't,
It's
he's
just
gonna
constant,
wreck us if we don't
unending
listen.
Disney references and film and TV references.
Yeah, I mean, it seems now people are all confused because you're all like animated film and then,
Yeah, I have the
Breaking
quote
Bad
wrong.
here. So
Also, I don't get it. Mark typed it in like 2 seconds and found the quote. And everyone, Aladdin? Jesse? No.
Well, congrats to the winners. I hope you guys had fun here today. Again, definitely stay be active in our Discord. There's a lot of stuff that's coming, additional content, but particularly, you've got our Twitter and Discord and website up here. But definitely tune in next week, because if you've been curious to see exactly what's going to happen with the game, what it looks like, we're going to do a deep playthrough there. So stay tuned there. Anything else, guys?
For the
before we
record,
adjourn?
Thomas, you did win it because even though you had the wrong answer, you had the closest, you had the least wrong answer. So you get the whitelist, Thomas.
Nice job. Anything else before we bounce?
That's it.
Okay. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We will see you next week.